Welcome to episode 166. And we know that business performance is not just about revenue or profit or growth targets. The businesses that perform well over time usually have stronger leadership, clear accountability, great cultures, and better ways of working underneath the numbers. And so to discuss this with me today is one of the most genuine and gracious human beings you will ever come across in business. So welcome, Farid. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Thank you, Karen, for the generous comment. My name is Farid Zaki, and my business is ATP Accounting, and we help business owners add value to their business, finance their business worries, multiply their profits, and divide their taxes legally.
This is why I wanted you to do the intro, because I've heard it so many times and it never gets old.
Thank you, Karen.
Look, thank you so much for joining. You've run your own business for almost 30 years, and obviously as an accountant you see a lot of businesses and have done over the years. So
Yes.
When you look at what a business is doing well, what are the signs that you notice that aren't just the numbers?
Yeah, so I think in business is like a machine, really. It starts with leadership and having clear vision, adaptable and adaptive vision, because these days you can't create a vision and leave it there for 10 years. You've got to update it all the time based on what's happening. Having very engaged and synchronized team that working together harmoniously. Systems and processes is one of those other things that is really, really important in business. Having, of course, satisfied, loyal customers, and having high operational energy between all the people, starting with management, leadership, as well as the team, as well as the clients, and have that integration and synergy between everybody.
You make it sound really easy.
Yes, it's easier said than done. I think as humans, there's a lot of hurdles and things like that you got to even out. But it's a learning journey, and it's all about learning, relearning, doing, redoing, and asking professionals to help us do it.
Yeah, and I like what you said about that sort of 10-year plan doesn't really work
Yes.
anymore, because I know when I started my business, which was almost 10 years ago, and I had one of those business advisors that sat down with me and said, okay, you need to do a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year plan. And I thought, I've got no idea what I'm going to do in 10 years. And I've never actually done that, which I know is terrible. I'm not advocating that at all, because I think people should be doing it. But I think, these days even more so, like, what does the next 10 years look like? And it's added extra complexity to businesses, hasn't it? Like, are you seeing that with your clients, that they're struggling to kind of know, like, where will we be in 3 years or 5 years?
Look, I think these days 5 years is a very long term. I mean, forget about 10 years,
Yeah.
because things are moving at a very high speed, and a lot of it is really unpredictable. Like, a lot of people don't know what is coming and what is the next step. But I think the main thing is, as long as we're keeping our eyes on the ball,
Yes.
we need to sort of adapt to things as they change. But also be flexible enough that you just don't create something and leave it there and expect to work with it. You need to be able to improvise and adapt and improve according to what is demanded at the time.
No, I think that's really great advice, because running a business isn't easy, and it can be easy to just kind of go, okay, well, that's been working for a while, I'm going to let it go and ignore the signs that maybe it's not working anymore.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned leadership before. So, over the years, what do you think that you've seen that the stronger businesses tend to get right when it comes to leadership and just the way that the business runs from day to day?
So I think very clear vision, knowing it's easy. Imagine like you're going on a road trip, and you know where you're going. You put the address in your GPS, and it will take you there. If you know where you're going, you will get there obviously quicker and smoother. So vision is very important, and making everybody aligned in that vision. Have the right culture in the business, because it's very important that people are seeing the same vision as the
Mm.
leadership, and they are rowing on the same direction. So it's just like being in a boat and you're rowing. If everybody is rowing in a different direction, we're going to go nowhere. So
Mm.
knowing the vision and the alignment and the culture between the team members, and coming to also very important to have systems and processes, so we're not recreating the wheel all the
Mm.
time, and have efficiency and improving the systems if we need to, and have feedback, positive feedback, negative feedback. We sort of make sure that we clear off things, so efficiency is maintained. So leadership vision shared among the team. The
Mm.
team are synchronizing, working together, and creating the systems and processes for sure,
Mm.
and sort of avoiding any negative things that could go wrong in business. And if there is, we just face it, and try to improve things so we don't do it. Because obviously, as humans, we make mistakes. We just gotta admit them and move on to the next level and find how we don't make them again.
Mm, absolutely. And when it comes to that vision, because I've seen this in many businesses where the employees say, we don't know what we're trying to achieve, and the owners feel a bit funny about sort of putting that out to their employees, and sometimes people are uncomfortable with putting numbers to their employees to say, like, this is the financial targets that we're trying to hit. I know there's no right or wrong answer, but what's your feeling and what you've seen? Is it better to be open about financial targets, or is it something that you kind of keep to a small group of employees, or have you seen anything work better than other ways?
Look, I think overall, sometimes it's about who you're sharing with and what are you actually sharing. So sometimes, like, you're not going to share the whole profit and loss,
Mm.
income, expenses, profitability, and all of that. But if you give clear targets, and that will help people know where they are going.
Mm.
Now, the clear targets could be in numbers of conversions, like how many, like say, if you're talking to a sales team, how many appointments do you need to book, and what is our conversion rate? So out of every 10 appointments that we do, how many do we actually end up turning up? Out of those who turn up, what's the value that we will get once they sign up? So having those numbers clear, it helps. It depends on the team culture, and it also depends on the team. Like
Mm.
I notice, sometimes people don't understand. The figures might look really good at a revenue. You could say, "Oh, my business turns $100 million."
Mm.
It looks like, wow, that's a very impressive business. But then, you know, if your cost of business is $110 million, you're losing $10 million. So it's important to look at the net rather than just the turnover.
Mm.
And sometimes people look at the turnover and say, "Oh wow, look at this business. They're making X amount of deals on their average deal, so much they must be making a lot of money." But once you take all the
Mm.
operational costs, of course, it sort of calls out all the profit. So I think there is no right or wrong
Mm.
answer, but it's about the culture and how people feel. And I think it's important that everybody, including the team, feel that they are part of the business. We are really in business to make money. We are in business to make a living. And
Mm.
what people do need to realize, as business owners, we also have to make a living.
Yeah.
So staff is going to make the money and make a living, but we as business owners got to make a living, and we got to cover our costs as well. Like
Mm.
if we have cost of capital, if we got rent to pay, wages to pay, all of this has to be paid. So it's important to understand that sometimes the numbers could be deceiving if you're looking at before expenses.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I guess in that vein, do you sometimes see businesses that look fine on paper, but then underneath there are issues with the way that the business is being led, or with the systems and processes that could impact on their performance later on?
Yes, that's look, that is a very common thing, and
Mm.
sometimes also differences between profit on paper and cash in the bank.
Yeah.
That's a big discrepancy.
Mm.
But also businesses that look good on the paper, They could have internal issues, as in, for example, poor management, and a lack of direction. Sometimes these things take effect, like the last 12 months, they might be on a profitability, but if all of a sudden there is change in leadership or things are not clear, it takes a while, but then it sort of, in the long run, it goes
Mm.
sour. I think also something very important is having toxic team dynamics. Sometimes has ripple effects. It might start with one or two team members and it sort of goes from one to the other, and
Mm.
then the whole team dynamics changes completely. Um, Also, as these days, introduction of AI systems and processes could go and become invalid in a very short term. So it's important to reassess whether the systems and processes that we're using are still valid, or do we need to have different systems and
Mm.
processes. So all of those things that are important, they need to be reviewed, because yeah, obviously the figures might say one thing, but on a long term, if these things are happening, the business would not look good on the long run. And
Yeah.
also one last thing I noticed, that a lot of business figures look really good because the owner is working 24 hours, 7 days a week,
Yeah.
sort of thing. But once they step out of the
Mm.
business collapses because there is no systems and processes. So um, if they stop working, nobody knows what to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big issue sometimes with founders, is we need to be
Mm.
able to replicate ourselves and have systems and processes so people can pick up from wherever we are.
That's a great point. And, I've come across owners that haven't paid themselves for years and years,
Yeah,
which, also makes the numbers look a little different than if you had to, buy someone in to run the business instead of them. So,
yeah,
and I guess that goes back to, and we've spoken about this, outside of this podcast, is, that run up that you need when you want to exit the business. It's quite long, isn't it? Like we're talking like a number of years really to make sure that you are replaceable, and the business can run without you.
that's right. And I think it's really important when we do put ourselves in a position where we force ourselves to get paid. It gives us two things. Firstly, it gives us a reward for our hard work, because you could have the business for 10 years and then you exit and you can't even sell the business with decent
Mm.
money. So it's as if you worked for free for such a long time. But also, on the other hand as well, it creates a ceiling where we know that we need to sell more or do more to be able to cover that cost. So when we treat ourselves as a normal employee and take a salary, and we treat that as a normal cost, it puts us into that drive that I've got to make that money to recover that cost. So it helps with the business improvement, and as well as, of course, it rewards us for our
Yes.
hard work and effort.
Yes, which is very important.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So what are some of the patterns that you might start to see in businesses when, growth starts to stall, even there might be opportunities there, and we talked about, things have changed a lot over the last few years, and not just technology, but we've now got a little bit of uncertainty as well in Australia at the moment when it comes to small businesses and what that looks like, in terms of funding and different things that are happening right now. So, are there things that you kind of could see and say, yeah, there's a pattern there that your growth stalling, and you need to do something about it.
Yeah. So I think obviously any business, as they go through growth, just like humans, we grow. A business, we go through the same thing. What is really important is to look at, what is the opportunity of doing things. I think what's important that we document repeatable, scalable systems, um, uh, duplicate and delegate the business owner. And I think we spoke about that. How, I mean, it doesn't have to be an exact person, it could be a different type of person from the owner or the business founder, but also have that ability that somebody else can pick up a lot of the stuff that this person can do, even if they don't do it the same way 100%, but if they can do it 75 or 85%, it allows continuance on the business. And have sort of alignment between the different departments and the different people working in the business, starting with sales, starting with operations, starting with customer service. So everybody is sort of aligned on the same, and they are integrated and sort of collaborating with each other. But I think also being able to continue on the business, because obviously as things are changing, if we're not changing at the same speed, then that's how the business slows down, because we're not. It's imagine like people running a marathon and all of a sudden you stop running and you start walking. Well, what's going to happen? You're just going to be definitely left behind. So we have to go on the same pace, and sometimes we go together as a team.
Yeah, and that really comes back to what we're talking about in terms of the vision, but also things like role clarity and accountability and decision making. And do you see that start to affect performances as businesses as they get bigger and it starts to become harder for the founder because they don't have 5 people anymore, they've now got 20?
That's right. Yeah. I think role clarity is very important, and also trying to find the right person in for the right position based on their capacity and ability, because everybody has different abilities, and being accountable for whatever role the person has been picked up, but making sure that they're actually aligned with whatever the role is. And that's why role clarity is very important, because if a person knows what they need to do and they just simply cannot do it, it's better to find somebody else who can do it. But if you don't have a clear role and people are just sitting on chairs, but they're not really able to do what is it that you've given them to do, then it becomes impossible to get there. Also, it creates accountability in decision making, empowering the team to make decisions, because they are in that role and they know that that's their responsibility and they're accountable for it. And being able to respond, to whatever things are happening in the market, if that's their strength and they know it is, and they see that there is a change in the market, they are able to adapt, at a speed, and make the business improved.
Yeah, and I think when you're talking, I can kind of imagine this perfect business where everyone knows what they're doing, they're all aligned. But there's an awful lot of businesses out there that either get stuck or they're in complete chaos. So is there one thing that would really separate a business that can grow in that steady, sustainable way versus one that just kind of ends up winging it, and then finds out down the track that actually it's not the business that they really set out to build?
Yeah. I think what's important is to realize there's no such thing as a perfect business. And if there is a perfect business at a certain time, with time, things do change. Because at the end of the day, business is still dependable on humans, and humans are, not the same level of performance, and the market changes on a lot of things. But I think what does help is having clear vision and strategy. Making sure that everybody is focused on that, that we sort of avoid distractions. So anything that takes us off the course, so if, like we're running a race, we're focusing on the race and the track in front of us, rather than get distracted. Making sure, of course, we have the
Business owners
systems.
don't get distracted.
Oh, yes, we do. As
Bright,
much as I would like to
shiny
say we don't, no. I think we get
Sorry.
more distracted than anything else. Having sort of, I think, systems and processes that also helps, to keep us on track, and rather than just firefighting all the time, which sometimes, unfortunately, we can't avoid.
Yeah.
But focusing a big attention to create the systems to sort of stop more and more fires going. Looking at cash flow, talking about figures, for example, focusing on cash flow rather than just revenue. And we spoke about that because sometimes people, to make a sale, they give a huge discount, and then they find that the discount they've given just blew the profitability that they have. You know, if they're selling a product and all they're making is 10%, and then all of a sudden they give a discount of 15%, they're actually going backwards.
Yeah.
It's very important to focus on that sort of cash flow. Find out where the bottlenecks are, and I think again, as humans and in business, there will be bottlenecks along the line. Somebody who's doing a good job, they obviously get a lot of work in that, and then it creates a bottleneck. So finding how can we do, you know, recreate that person, train somebody else to take some of the work off them, and so that they are able to handle more and more work, and get rid of the bottleneck or try to even them as much as possible. But I think, to be honest with you, it's just the most important thing is to realize that there is no perfect solution. There is no perfect business. But of course, we try to do our best to be as close as possible, because the more we put ourselves in that, we feel a little bit sad and disappointed that our business is not a very well-oiled machine, which sometimes it could be, but it's not all the time. There will always be hindrance, staff leaving, staff coming, wants to retire, the market changes. So there's factors inside, but outside as well. And we can't really control all of those. So just realize that it's fine if your business is not perfect. There is things that you can do to improve it.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that's getting help, right? Because even what you were just saying around, discounting and suddenly you're not making any money. And
Yes.
some people might be listening to this and thinking, well, that's crazy. But I've seen business owners do that again and again. Like, I know I've met with people that have said to me, I've got all this revenue, but I don't know why I'm not making any money. And so sometimes it's just actually stopping yourself on that sort of roundabout that you're on and saying, okay, I actually need some help, because we're not all financial whizzes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's one area that I think is really important for business owners to get across is just the numbers and what that means, and what are the levers there. And as you said, systems and processes, and having the right people, and all of those are necessary. But if you're not watching your numbers at the same time, then you could still end up in trouble, right?
Yeah, and it brings us to a point. One of the questions that you asked before, is it good to share the numbers with your team? I think this is also where it's important for the team to understand what is our profitability in certain products, because if you've got a salesperson on the road selling stuff and all they want to do is sell,
So,
if they don't know what the margins are, and then
yeah.
all of a sudden they are negotiating with the client, and client
Mm.
said, oh well, I'm going to take 10 boxes. What price will you give me? And all of a sudden they give like a 15% discount,
Mm.
knowing that the profitability is only 10%. If they know that beforehand, I'm quite sure they will
Yes.
know how far to go.
Mm.
And that's where the advantages of at least knowing, some of the highlight numbers,
Mm.
gross profit, net profit, um, allowing them to make decisions if you are sharing the numbers with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we are coming to the start of a new financial year, which I know is very
Yes.
exciting for accountants.
Who
um,
can believe that? We are in June 26 already.
I know. So, beyond the usual this time of year budgets and targets, what else do you think business owners should be paying attention to if they want the next year to be stronger than the last year?
I think the basics is going back to restructuring and looking at your current business structure, especially after all the sort of proposed changes in the budget. It's important to review your structure, your business structure. Is it giving you the best outcome from a protection point of view, but also from a tax implications? Also, remember, Payday Super starts 1st of July, which effectively means that all your employees, as you pay them their salary, they have to get the super there and then. First quarter is going to be a bit tricky because a lot of people need to pay the April, May, and June
Yeah.
super. but they also need to make the payments from 1st of July of the super. So the first quarter is going to be like as if they have paid 2 quarters at one
Yes.
quarter. So cash flow is going to be quite important. Make sure that you got, of course, the systems and processes to capture all of that data to be able to run it in time to avoid all penalties. I think also having the right systems, with AI, having the productivity, making sure you're up to date with what things that you can do to improve the business, having sort of reviewing your costings. What extra costings is your business going through? Making sure you're reflecting that on your prices. If you need to review your prices, look at discounts. If you're giving discounts, is that something that is eating away your profits? Looking at your income, looking at your expenses. If there is ongoing subscriptions that you have in your business, $50 here, $100 here, $200 here, $300. If there is a duplications in the systems and the subscriptions that you do, get rid of those, and it all adds up. I always say it doesn't matter how much money, it sort of all adds up. So have a quick financial health check review. Look at your income, look at your expenses. Where can you improve? Can you increase your prices if your costing is going up? And having a review of your structures and keeping an eye on your cash flow. That's quite important at the moment.
Yeah, great advice. And I know, particularly after, the COVID years, we all got so much software.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's, because it's $30 a month for this thing and it's $40
Yeah,
over here for that. And it adds up
it
really
does. Yeah,
quickly. And I know it's something that I've done in my business multiple times. It's actually gone out to the team and said, "Are you still using this?"
yes, yes.
Because it's easy to make the assumption that it's being used, but if it's
Used.
not being used, even if it's only $40 a month, that's it's still $500 a year.
Correct.
That it's money that you don't need to spend. So yeah, so that's great advice. Is sometimes those little bits
Yes,
to make a difference.
yes, yes.
Um, Now we're almost at time, so I do need to ask you though. You've been running your business now for over 28 years, which is quite a feat. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, what's one thing that you wish you knew earlier about running a business or leading a team?
Um, I think a lot of those points we discussed, but having the right systems and processes, recreating myself to be able to sort of hand over, delegate, learn to delegate. As business owners, we are not very good with that. We want to do everything 100% by ourselves. So learning to sort of delegate that, replicate people. It's also very important to surround yourself with good advisors in their line of expertise. Because the thing is, everybody is specialist in a different field. So having those specialist advisors, you're in HR. So if you need HR advice, talk to a specialist. You need accounting, you talk to an accountant. You need financial advice, speak to a financial planner. So surround yourself with those that are specialists in their field. Have the right team around you by having the proper systems and processes, giving them the correct roles, making sure that they can fulfill that, having the right clients around you that appreciate what you do and they want to
Mm.
have the journey. Um, I think it's important to also know that success is a journey. It's not a destination. And, if you feel that sometimes things are not going the way it is, and sometimes in business, things could be going good, things could be going bad, but, reaching out and having those people that are positive around you to encourage you and
Yes.
support you. And I think probably the best thing is just enjoy the journey because, it is a journey. And sometimes we want to get there faster, but we might get there in some aspect, but then we go back a little bit and then we go forward. But it's a journey.
Mm.
So I
And it
think
goes
celebrate.
quickly, right? Like it probably
It
doesn't
does.
feel like 28 years to you.
No,
So-
I still remember the first day I started as if it was yesterday. Yeah,
Yeah.
time goes very fast. So yeah, enjoy that, celebrate, and enjoy your celebrations. And I always have that advice to people. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. Sometimes when you are climbing a mountain, yeah, it feels that there is still a fair bit to get to the peak. But if you ever stop and you look back, you see how far you've come, you will be appreciative and grateful for the hard. We don't have a pat on the shoulder, nobody pats us on the shoulder and say, well done. I mean, we do that with our employees and our team, but as business owners, a lot of times we don't get that encouragement. And it's important to look back and say, look, I've worked really hard. Look what I have created and how many homes I've opened and the team that you're surrounding yourself with. So, be grateful for the hard work and what you've created in the journey.
Yeah, I think that's great advice because I know for myself and my business owner friends, it's not something that people tend to do is actually say, hey, look at this great thing that I've done. It's just like, okay, I've just got to keep going. I've just got to keep going.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Look, thank you so much for joining me today, Farid. It's always such a pleasure to speak with you. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So you can look at our website, atpaccounting.com.au, or if you're on social media, LinkedIn, you can find me under Farid Zaki. And happy to, if anybody, when you're sharing these things on your social, Karen, if anybody has any questions, happy to answer them and help them. But I think the best thing is we stick together as business owners and advisors, encourage each other, collaborate with each other, and support each other. Because at the end of the day, we are all working to the same effect as we want to improve our business. So let's stick together, collaborate, and work together. And thank you for having me.
No, that's lovely. Thank you. And for those listening, if you've received value from this episode, I would love it if you could leave a rating or a review over Apple Podcasts or Spotify so someone else can find the episodes to help with their business. Episodes are released on Mondays, so click subscribe and you'll be notified of when the next is available. If you have any feedback, questions or ideas for future episodes, head on over to amplifyhr.com.au or connect with me on LinkedIn and we can start a conversation.